Have you ever run into someone who said that we're going to have a constitutional convention and that will open up the Constitution to anything? I'm going to tell you a story about how I had someone like that and I got them to sign the petition. Then I'm going to give you a process you can use in the future. Iowa State Fair, which is the largest petition gathering event we have in the country. In fact, the largest in COS history, as it holds the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 top spots in history of COS. Get out there if you ever get a chance. It is a great way to get a chance to speak to the general populace and hone your own skills and understanding of how we communicate the Convention of States message. Had a guy roll up with his wife. He said he was a history teacher. He said that we were going to have a constitutional convention and that would open up the Constitution to anything. I just wanted to explain that there was a difference between a constitutional convention and an Article 5 convention. I explained that yes, we had a constitutional convention where they wrote the Constitution. When you create a governing body of any kind, there will be a process for modifications. The fancy word for that is amendments. They gave Congress that power. And they also gave the states that power. But for the states to use that power, 34 states have to agree to the same topic before they can even call the meeting. I asked him, you've got 34 to call the meeting. How many states are left out of 50? He thought for a while. He said 16. I said, exactly right. If 34 states agree to meet on a certain topic, let's say term limits right now, just to make the conversation easy. 34 states have agreed to meet on the topic of term limits. Then one of the remaining 16 says, I want to talk about something else. The 34, the supermajority, are going to say to the minority, that's not why we all agreed to meet, and it's going to be dead. But even if somehow it did happen, anything beyond topic will be challenged in the courts. It will go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to say, that's not why you guys agreed to meet. He said, all right. And he signed the petition. I was surprised because, as you know, if you've dealt with this, generally there's no amount of logic that helps someone who has that fear. I really thought about it, and this was on Wednesday. I was working Monday through Friday. I had a couple more days, and I knew somebody would come up with that same concern. Over the next 2 days, I focused in on what I thought was the key point, which I'm going to tell you now. And I ended up getting 4 or 5 more people who went from, normally speaking, talking to a brick wall to actually signing our petition. Here's what I did. To hone down and not spend the amount of time I did telling the story I told you guys, I got right to the convention, right to the 34 states. The key is that I ask them a question and I ask them to do the math. This makes them think. Now their brain is engaged versus just saying knee-jerk talking points. And math is not easy for a lot of people. So when they actually have to think through it, they've actually thought, and they come up, generally speaking, with 16. Once they do that, they themselves have realized the 34-16 difference. That's when I add just simple statements saying 34 states get together on a topic. Let's use one topic. 34 states have agreed to meet on the topic of term limits. And then one of the 16 says they want to talk about something else. The supermajority, the 34, is going to say to the minority, the 16, that's not why we agreed to meet. Because they've already thought through it and seen that difference in their own mind, it dawns on them that not really anything could happen because the supermajority you had to have to even call the convention is already there intentionally to talk about a certain topic. They're not going to get thrown off by some super minority. That really works. And again, keys are ask them a question, ask them to do the math, give them the time to come up with the 16, then you can say exactly 34-16, the supermajority is not going to let the minority overwhelm this convention.